Excuse me. Guys, okay, you would not believe what I just went through. My roommate slash landlord just started a chemical fire in my house. A chemical fire. A chemical fire. I turned all my lights on, I was set up, and then I was like, what's that smell? He was boiling a hand warmer on the stove and forgot about it, just forgot about it. And then, yeah, just left that going. It proceeded to release a whole bunch of chemicals into the air in my house. This is exactly why I don't want a man in my house. But we've aired the house out. The swamp cooler is still on. I think we're good. I think I'm safe. And I can finally tell you guys about Death of a Unicorn. Oh, also, this is my last video of Women's History Month. And today I do have another Jennifer's Body shirt on. Women's History. If you want to see more good shirts all the time, then click subscribe. Join my little cult. I am the Antichrist, and I run a pretty loose ship around here. We have a good time. We talk about horror movies. Also click the like button and the notification bell, that way you never miss the next video. I do lots of reviews like these. I was gonna review The Woman in the Yard today, and then I watched The Woman in the Yard, and it just was bad, okay? It was bad. It was bad. Then I watched Death of a Unicorn, and it had more horror elements in it than I was expecting, so I was like, yeah, I can review that on my horror channel. I'm gonna get into all my spoiler-free thoughts first, so you're safe for a little while. I will let you know when the spoilers begin. But first, I want to let you know that I'm fundraising for my next independent short horror film, so if you want to check out the GoFundMe, that is linked down below. Things are gonna be ramping up. I am hoping over the summer especially to have a lot of fun events to help fundraise, so I hope to see you there. But for today, let's first get into my expectations of Death of a Unicorn. When I first heard the name, I want to say that this was a couple months ago when I was talking about all my most anticipated movies of the year. It might have made my top 5. I do not remember. I make those videos and then poof, all the thoughts, they're gone. So I don't know. I just remember being super stoked about it because I love Jenna Ortega. Who doesn't? I love Paul Rudd. Who doesn't? I'm pretty sure that's all I was aware of about the cast. And then when more marketing stuff started coming out, I was like, oh my god, Will Poulter? So I was pretty stoked. But then I saw fellow internet acquaintance and creator Jonathan Fuji give the movie 2.5 stars. And I was like, oh no, because his taste is so good. I trust him a lot. So I was like, no. By the time I went to go see the movie though, I was like, you know, it's probably gonna be fine. It'll be fine. Companion was such a banger. I figured that this movie was gonna have sort of a similar tone. I was expecting it to be really over the top and super ridiculous, maybe kind of similar to like Y2K, because A24 just put that movie out a couple months ago and I adored it. Just that perfect, like, stupid stoner comedy. Also, my throat hurts right now. Like, I breathed in a lot of chemicals, I'm telling you. I also thought today would be such a good day for like a stoned review. And then after that, I was like, I really shouldn't put more smoke in my lungs. Probably not. Anyway, I was expecting something similar to Y2K maybe. Also because that's just the trend. We had Companion and then also recently the Monkey came out. Now go and watch my review of the Monkey, but to sum that up, that was a movie that thought it was going over the top, but was really kind of a vanilla form of comedy in my opinion. Nonetheless, that is the trend. So I was like, well, this is gonna go right in line with that. Sorry, that was so gross. I'm coughing stuff up though. I think that's a good sign. Oh, I should go take a picture of the pot because I don't think that he's tried to clean it out yet. Okay, I hate to disappoint, but he had already started cleaning it, but there's the evidence. So, what was I talking about? Right, everybody is like in their goofy era. Everybody is kind of in their nihilistic era, and it's making some good stuff and some bad stuff. I enjoy that we're in an era where it seems like people want to be silly and like have a fun little time, but a lot of it is like not funny. I thought because of the brilliant comedic minds in Death of a Unicorn that it would be super funny. Hey, the first half of the movie is not good. The most baffling thing about it is that it's like so many of the most naturally funny people delivering the most unfunny dialogue. I don't know if it was like a chemistry issue. I found that so bizarre because Paul Rudd is hilarious. When I got my appendix ripped out at the top of this month, I decided to rewatch the Anchorman movies in my recovery, and I was like, oh man, yeah, this guy's a comedic genius. Love that guy. And in Death of a Unicorn, I don't know. They did not give him the best material to work with. It very much felt written. It didn't feel like these actors got to riff off of each other at all. The only person that managed to sidestep this by the second half of the movie was Will Poulter. Scene stealer Will Poulter. The arc of the movie is supposed to be between Jenna Ortega's character and her father. Didn't care. We spent so much time with Will Poulter too. This very much was an ensemble movie. So Jenna Ortega is, I guess, technically the lead, but really they are showing the contrasting dynamics between decent people and wealthy people, child and parent relationships, you know? But because we spent so much time with Will Poulter's character, I just didn't care about the emotional journey of this movie. They didn't spend a whole lot of time on it. I will get into that more in the spoiler section, I think. So it's not like there was a whole lot to latch on to anyways. They also introduced the dead mom trope very early on, but as soon as Will Poulter's character Shepard got more involved, I was liking the movie more and more. This movie is absolutely not going to be for everybody, and I feel like a lot of people are not going to be able to recover from that first half. It's just so rough. Like, I don't know if this movie was shot chronologically, perhaps. That's almost never the case, but I'm like, why else is the chemistry and everything so rough in the beginning? It's just not dumb enough. This movie, it has some tonal issues. The tone should have been a lot closer to Y2K. It just wasn't that. It was a very broad comedy, but given the subject matter of it and the genres that it dips into, that makes no sense to me. Y2K was perfect in the fact that it was a very specific niche, a very specific brand of comedy, because for a certain crowd, like the small crowd it's trying to serve, it's gonna be amazing. This being so broad, but having elements of gore or like really over the top fantasy, it just like it makes me question who the audience is supposed to be. When the comedy's that broad, I'm like, oh, well, they think that they're making a movie for everybody? But the people who appreciate the over the top and super ridiculous gore probably want the comedy to be more over the top to match that. The people who prefer this milquetoast, obvious comedy probably aren't that into the gore being so extreme. And the people who are super into the creatures or the super fantastical fantasy elements of it, they're probably not going to be into that brand of the comedy or the gore. I don't know, maybe because it kind of worked for Dungeons and Dragons. I guess it's sort of like a Guardians of the Galaxy effect. Maybe that's what it is. But then when you combine it with the horror elements, it's a little messy, in my opinion. That is why I think this movie might struggle a little bit and why the reviews have been kind of mixed so far. Maybe I'll be totally wrong, and because it is so broad, people are gonna be down and it's gonna do similar numbers to like Companion. I don't know. This is one that baffled me a little bit. Normally I'm a freaky witch that can see into the future quite well. At the moment, I'm not sure. I'm really interested to see how things shake out with the box office and the critical and audience reception. Mostly the audience reception. I know that critically it's very kind of like meh, but I'm so curious how this is gonna impact the culture because the people loved Companion a lot more than I thought that they would. I love Companion, but I thought that it was a little bit more niche. We shall have to wait and see. The great box office oracle. We'll wait and await her words. I haven't mentioned the unicorn yet. Unicorns are sick, underutilized creature, underexplored lore. There are so many different routes you could take with unicorns too. There are so many different stories you could tell. Especially, this movie really opened my eyes to like the possibilities of unicorns. Given the title, I just figured, okay, Jenna Ortega and Paul Rudd, father-daughter, they kill a unicorn. Sign me up. I didn't know anything else. I had no idea what tone or what direction they were gonna take as far as like those fantasy elements were concerned. And I love the direction they went with it. I don't know, like I said, I don't know how well it paired with everything else going on, but conceptually, I loved it. So I would love to see more of them, more unicorns in pop culture, please. And it makes sense. Like, let's wake that up. We woke up Barbie a couple of years ago. We brought Pink back. Let's wake up unicorns. Let's wake up like all that crazy hyper femme stuff. I need the pop girlies to get on board. Like, I need Lady Gaga, Chappell Roan, Sabrina. Maybe at the next VMAs or Grammys or something, somebody can have a unicorn themed performance. I'll move on. I just didn't know that this movie would awaken such a curiosity in me for unicorns. As a kid, it was like Lord Voldemort would drink the blood of that one unicorn in the forest, and they had some relation to Barbie. I feel like there's a Barbie movie where there's a unicorn, I think. I don't know if I ever saw it as a kid, and unicorns seemed fantastic as a kid, but also like all my life, really all they've been is just a horse with a thorn. A horse with a horn. And like they're magical and sometimes they fly a little bit, but then isn't that a Pegasus? Anyway, there's more to them than meets the eye, and it's fun, and I want more of it. Also, this movie had pretty decent gore. As a horror fan that is into gore, I felt okay. You know, I wasn't really being fed that much, and tonally, a lot of the gore felt a little bit more slapsticky. That's become such a huge trend in horror over the past couple of years because, okay, taking it way back. We do have Jason Lives, Friday the 13th, part 6, where things got super campy and the gore was super slapsticky and it was almost like parodying itself as a franchise. So we had that way back then, but I feel like that didn't come back around until literally the 2020s. The 2020s has seen a huge resurgence of the slasher genre, which is fun, which is awesome. You know, every other decade we do come back to them, but now the difference is it's all fun and games. It's all jokes. The only serious slashers coming out right now are the Terrifier films, and even those are hilarious, apart from the kills themselves being actually so sickening and so disgusting. Beyond that, I don't know. This movie isn't a slasher, but it has over-the-top gore like a slasher would. The only difference is now, like, that kind of hyper-violence is scattered throughout, like, all dark comedies these days, which I'm not opposed to. I just don't know if I'm becoming, like, a little desensitized. It was fine in this movie, there just wasn't enough of it, so, like, if you are a gore hound, I don't think that's gonna be enough of a draw. It's like I said, it's just, I don't know who the audience really is with this movie, and the gore is kind of part of it. But overall, I recommend. I understand that this is going to disappoint people. It disappointed me. Luckily, things really picked up for me in the second half, and truly that just meant me being more invested in Will Poulter's performance. I think I've established that, but I think there's a good time to be had with it. So maybe just adjust your expectations. I certainly was not really able to going in, but I think with the knowledge that I had going in, it pretty much met my expectations. I think this one is definitely worth seeing in theaters. There are some definite spectacle moments. I saw it in the Dolby Cinema personally, but being that it is such a broad comedy, it will probably also work fine at home, but I'm always gonna advocate for the theater. Now that that recommendation is out of the way, I do want to get into just kind of a brief spoiler section. It's not a super plot-rich movie, and also they kind of beat you over the head with the themes of rich people evil, which is fine. It's fine. I was super into the whole like rich people in their flop era thing up through maybe like 2022. That was the year of Glass Onion. It was the year of The Menu, and I was so here for it. Like as a young adult, the art and the culture reflecting how I was feeling about being a poor recent college grad in the world and trying to survive and realizing how impossible it is. But now I'm kind of like we get it. There are only so many ways to say that, and granted, throughout all of time and history, the rich people are always going to be the bad guys in the movies. That's just how it is, but I think like just making that commentary so front and center is getting a little bit boring. I might be diving into that more. Let's hold that thought. Jenna and Paul's characters' names are Ridley and Elliot, respectively. So they land in, I don't know where they are actually, I'm pretty sure it's like an unspecified location, and on their way up to this sort of retreat, it's established that Elliot knows they're not the best people, you know, they work in pharmaceuticals, but if I can get onto the board of the company, then I'll be able to take care of us forever. We'll be good. And I do think this was explored relatively well, like the way that decent people tend to have to sacrifice their morals to be any type of comfortable in this world. That was a different take on the rich people evil thing, I suppose. But on their way, they hit a unicorn and they kill it. When it first cut to the unicorn, I could not believe how stupid it looked, because I've only seen the posters and it either looked like a ferocious beast or it looked like the standard kind of beautiful like silhouette under the sheet. So I wasn't expecting its face to look that stupid, okay? So they hoist that thing up to the rich people's house, and thus there is our inciting incident. I'll be so honest though, with that truly hideous look of the unicorn, I didn't know what I was in for. I saw its teeth and I was like, okay, so it's definitely gonna be some kind of monster, because pointy in any kind of design equals evil or scary. But because it looked so dumb, it had like a kind of a bulging eyeball, I didn't know what was going on. And that unsettled me, and none of the humor in the movie had worked up to that point, so I just was like, oh, is this just gonna be like dumb and not funny dumb? Anyway, once they get up there, they discover the unicorn and its healing properties. And I think that this movie probably could have done without the whole metaphysical connection between Ridley and the unicorn, because if for some reason you didn't watch this movie and you're just curious about the plot, when they hit it, she grabbed its horn and she got this like crazy psychedelic vision, and beyond that point she was like, I'm connected with it. That was like, okay, okay, already I am having to suspend my disbelief about a unicorn. So the whole like DMT trip aspect, it wasn't clicking, not then. She also just was not very good at articulating herself. She would tell her dad that she had this feeling and stuff, and she'd be doing research throughout the movie and never really fully explain herself. I was getting frustrated. More on that later. Anyway, they all discover that the unicorn blood can cure Leopold's cancer. That is Elliot's boss, and he's played by, oh my god, legend, what's his name? Richard E. Grant. Oh my god. And he had his natural British accent in the movie, so I don't understand why Will Poulter had to put on an American accent. His mom had an American accent, who also, by the way, played by Téa Leoni, icon from Jurassic Park 3, Mrs. Queen of Complaining herself. I'm getting off track, but of course this makes the greedy, ultra-wealthy people go, oh my god, how can we just squeeze this dry for all it's worth? Immediately start hitting up contacts. Who can we sell it to, etc, etc. Elliot's getting really swept up in it too. Shepard is snorting the ground up horn. And if you didn't see my review on Letterboxd, I said we listen and we don't judge. If I was still 20 years old, I also would have snorted that horn. Look, I was into a lot of the natural stuff, okay? I did a lot of shrooms from age 18 to age 20. Did it make me a little bit weird in the long run? I don't know, maybe. Maybe. I would have snorted the unicorn horn. I would have snorted it, okay? Now I know better, and I would have been on Ridley's side, and I would have been like, yeah, guys, this is morally wrong. But actually, I don't know, because if I was hanging out with Will Poulter and he told me to do it, I might do it. But all this craziness is going on, and Elliot's getting more swept up in it, and he's like, oh my god, we're making so much money. And Ridley is getting pissed at her dad, and he's like, well, I need to take care of you. And one thing I did really like that I feel like I haven't seen in an Eat the Rich movie before is that they make these amazing discoveries about the uses of the unicorn horn and then also of its blood, and they understand just how much they can sell it for. But throughout like the entire second act, you just see all of them consuming it for themselves. And it's like, that doesn't seem like a great business move, but Shepard is mixing the blood into alcoholic beverages for them all to drink. He is snorting up a storm, all of that horn dust. Father Leopold, what's his first name? Odell is the patriarch's name. At one point, he literally orders a steak to be cut from the unicorn and he eats it like rare. So they're just consuming the hell out of it, like using up so much of this resource that they understand to be so unbelievably finite, because their head scientist is like, I literally cannot replicate it. It is literally not possible. And they get pissed about that, but then they just continue to consume it all up anyway. So maybe you're starting to see why I was able to give this movie a 3.5. Like, I was, tonally a mess. The movie's kind of a mess. There was still a lot to be gained and a lot of entertainment to be had. Now, towards the end of the second act, I think, is when Ridley is presenting all the research that she's been doing on unicorns since this big discovery, and she prints out these tapestries, and this annoyed me. She does such a bad job at presenting her research and presenting the stakes of the situation, because like she doesn't understand it herself somehow, even though they killed the unicorn, okay? It was dead when they put it into their car. Her dad beat its head to death with a tire iron, and yet it resurrected and was able to nearly escape their sport utility vehicle until one of the rich people workers shot it in the head, right? So it had already resurrected. I'm like, how do you not understand that? Especially after doing all this research and looking at the story of the tapestry that you're so obsessed with. How did she not put it together into like the top of Act 3 that the unicorn was gonna regenerate and come back to life? Everybody was so slow at that. Even the scientist herself, when she's like going to saw off the horn, and then she tells Shepard, she's like, oh, actually this horn and the electromagnetic bullshit is actually making everything regenerate, and so this thing's gonna come back to life. I thought we as the audience were meant to understand that from literally the first act, when the unicorn first is trying to bust out of the car. So the fact that it takes everybody so long to figure that out, I'm like, I thought we all understood that. Because literally, if I was her dad, or if I were one of those rich people, and she went on her mini spiel, like laying out the tapestries and being like, we can't do this, I'd be like, okay, but your point, like, I'm supposed to listen to you just based on like a bad feeling? If she had spent so much time reading all these books and doing all this research on the tapestries, why wouldn't she have an understanding of or explain that all these stories and all the folklore lead to the same place? In every case of unicorns being captured or exploited, they regenerate and they kill everybody. Am I crazy? I thought that that was like laid out in the tapestry. Anyway, so of course that foreshadowing comes to fruition, and everything starts getting a lot more fun when the rich people start dying. This was when Will Poulter really got to shine as like the pathetic playboy. My favorite moment of all is probably when his mom is like earnestly trying to tell him that she loves him. She's like, son, I just want you to know. And he's like, shut the fuck up. He's so fucking funny. He's so funny. Her death was one of my favorites. I think it was one of my favorites because it was one of the more over the top ones. Same with the scientist girl. Rest in peace. Not deserved. Her getting literally torn apart. That was insane. And they just take so much time doing all of this, spending time with the ridiculous rich people. Again, I get that it's meant to be like in contrast to Ridley and Elliot, but we spend so much time with them, and there's so much chaos with the unicorns, you know, the mommy and daddy unicorns coming and busting into the house. And there's also so much time spent on how they're getting swept up and like selling this resource and stuff that the arc of Ridley and Elliot completely falls off. Like they set up in the beginning, oh, mom is dead, of course. Then there are several moments of the movie where she gets frustrated with her dad and walks away, or she kicks him out of her room. That happens a lot. That happens too many times. And then in the end, Paul Rudd kind of waxes poetic and delivers the themes through his dialogue. And he's like, maybe this wasn't just for you. Maybe me getting caught up and wanting the money was a little bit for me. I just wanted to take care of you because I promised your mom. So very explicitly, we're given the well-meaning, well-intentioned, morally decent person got swept up in the capitalism of it all and started to sell his morals to try to take care of his family. And that's just the whole arc though. Like nothing really happens between them for the majority of the movie. It's just them not being able to communicate. If there was more focus on their relationship and, you know, having sort of an upward trajectory of their communication getting better or something, then I would have been more invested. But it takes Elliot almost dying several times to finally be like, oh, my daughter was right. We should probably talk more. I will say though, Jenna Ortega's acting is impossible not to get swept up in. I literally started tearing up at the very end when she's crying over her father that has just died. The whole like, oh, I saw this place and I think it's where we go when we die. I don't believe in heaven. I don't give a shit about that. It was when she started weeping over his dead body that I literally started to tear up, and I was like, okay. 1 point to the movie, 0 points Haunted Hippie. But of course, Will Poulter is stealing the show until the very end. His death, though not the most gory, though not the most drawn out or anything, I think it was my favorite because that was one of the only instances where I felt like the comedy was stupid enough for these high concepts. Like that really, it meshed well to me. The whole fair maiden thing where she like pacifies the unicorns, I know it's not really encroaching on a double mumbo jumbo territory, but that's what it was feeling like to me. I was like, okay, well, this is weird, and I don't know. Maybe I just don't get it. It's just not for me. I mostly liked the ending though. I mean, how undignified Shepard's death was awesome. And then the unicorns bringing Elliot back to life, insane, but honestly deserved. I really like that this gave Elliot and Ridley their little fresh start. Whatever, it's cute. I wasn't that invested in their arc anyway, but it's, you know what, got swept up in Ridley's emotions, so I feel like she deserved it. Then I guess Elliot and Ridley are gonna live happily ever after with the unicorns. I am unclear on that ending, but basically the unicorns disappear and it's just in time for the cop to show up, and it looks like they murdered the rich people. Oh no. So they are locked up in the back of the cop car, and then the unicorns, they start sprinting alongside the car, and then we cut to black on them ramming the car off into like a lake, I think, implying that they're breaking them free. You know, the unicorns, they got Ridley and Elliot's back. They are best buddies now. What does that imply exactly? I don't know. I don't need to know. It's fine. Is there gonna be a sequel? Are they gonna be the rulers of the unicorns? Whatever, who cares? It was fun. It was fine. I don't think I'm gonna be like clamoring to own it on physical media. I would watch it again though. And I wonder if I would like it more the second time around, having the proper expectations set, or if I would like it less because we don't have the shock value anymore of the deaths or of the comedy. Really, really hard to say. What did you think of Death of a Unicorn? Let me know all your questions, comments, concerns down below. Once again, check out the Famished GoFundMe. Did I mention that's the name of my next horror short? I'm so excited for it. It is without a doubt my best short film script to to date, and it's like kind of not even close. So I'm all in. I'm super stoked for the fundraising to come. In the meantime though, you can check out my second channel. I talk a lot about physical media over there. I also post travel content. I am hopefully going to visit the Winchester Mystery House for the first time in my life soon, so you know I'll be documenting that if we do end up doing that. But I also have a Patreon where you get a bonus video every single week depending on which tier you join. Check it out. Everything is linked down below. But more than anything, I just hope that you enjoyed this video and that I catch you in the next one. Bye!